and didn't get. We have a crisis in base funding. SWAC has been working on preparedness, persistence, and completion for a number of years, but with the base funding well below what we need. Oregon community colleges have a long tradition of honoring access to both traditional and non-traditional students, fulfilling a promise unique to higher education, plainly stated, anyone, anytime, and for any reason. Our 50-year legacy of local control has served this rural community college well, with programs, signature programs and targeted initiatives that reflect South Coast needs. In conclusion, we look forward to working with OEIB on the important mandate to achieve 40-40-20 by 2025, but we need base funding that allows it. Thank you.
Hi, Ron Metzger, faculty member here at SWAC and also faculty senate chair this year. David mentions the $510 million. I won't repeat that any more than I just did. If one just thinks of gas and electric prices since 2007 and the increase, imagine what that does to our bottom line. But if you take the staff, I just look at faculty as a faculty member. In 2002-03, we had 70 full-time faculty members, about 2,800, just over that, at full-time equivalent students in reimbursable. A few years later, in 07-08, we were down to 59 and about 3,000 FTE. If you look at last year, when we had current numbers, we were down to 50 full-time faculty members and up to over 3,200 student full-time equivalencies. Again, you can't do, and I'm great at doing more with less, but there's only so much you can do. And this isn't just faculty, it's across the board, all levels of college employees. As an educator, I, on a level, understand and move towards the completion outcome funding model. But you know, I think that needs to be approached very carefully. One of the things, what's success? You know, I know somebody just anecdotally over my 17 years here that finished one class short of the degree, has had a family wage job for over 25 years. That's success. It's not going to count for us. I know somebody from this evening, son was one credit short. That's not a success for us, but yet they transferred on to a four-year school. So employment, all of those, that's important. When you look at a second concern, what's the easiest way to completion? Giving C's or better. That's the easiest way. Personally, as an educator, I don't have an issue with assigning grades that students deserve. However, I'm concerned that that completion model, that's the pathway to more funding. I fully understand increased funding is not a panacea, and money alone does not produce a better educated student body. However, community colleges like SWAC currently have an open admission policy. If we're to continue to allow all students access to education, well, we deserve at least a return to that requested 07-08 funding model, which is still short. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary McGinnis, and I'm from the Tillamook School District, and I'm also on the Chalkboard Project's Distinguished Educator Council, and I think I've probably spoken to a couple of you previously. But I'm here tonight to speak for the Chalkboard Project and the need to fund programs for quality teachers. And I know that that is on the strategic investment agenda, so it's very closely aligned. But we know that research shows that quality teachers are the #1 factor in student learning. And all of the different initiatives that the state might pass or consider will have limited success without a quality teacher implementing them. And there are 5 different areas in quality teaching that we need to really look at. And one is teacher preparation programs. We need new teachers who can step into the classroom ready to teach from day one. And the second one is professional development, enhanced professional development for teachers who are already practicing. Education, as we are beginning to hear, is changing rapidly, and teachers need continual professional development to keep up with those rapid changes. I was just sitting back there a minute ago going, oh my gosh, this is making my head swirl, all the things that are going on. Teachers need to keep up with that. And the third one is more teachers from diverse backgrounds and teachers who are already in the profession, more training to work with diverse students. They are scoring the lowest historically on our state achievement tests. And improved evaluation, which is already in the agenda for Oregon education, but funding to help schools implement evaluation systems. And then the last one is leadership opportunities, because if we want to attract and retain quality teachers in Oregon, many of them are very ambitious people like myself, and we need leadership opportunities to keep us interested in education. And this is an awesome community college. This is my first time here. I'm very impressed. Thank you, guys.
Hi, my name is Michelle Burnett. I'm from CoosBay, and I too love this area and was also born at Kaiser Hospital and Marshfield Pirate. But tonight I'm here, and I'm a retired banker, which makes me like really out of my league here. So I'm here this evening representing the statewide leaders panel and the Center for Innovative School Facilities. I suspect that you have heard this testimony now 5 times in your, I'll try to just hit the high points. We're a nonprofit group with a strong volunteer base consisting of school administrators, facility managers, business and community leaders, construction and design specialists around the state who give their time and energy to create better schools for our children and communities in Oregon. Our work, however, falls far short of meeting the needs of Oregon districts. I'm sure you've heard some of the horror stories about buildings that have been condemned for decades that still have 500 students going to class every day. And that's just, one example, and there are many. The revolution in Oregon education promised by Governor Kitzhaber's launch of the Oregon Education Investment Board is unquestionably the most important initiative in the last 5 decades. The many unsafe, unhealthy, and technologically archaic K-12 facilities reinforce this need for sweeping change. Oregon is one of 7 states nationally that has no staff dedicated to capital programs. One of 15 with under 5% state participation in capital costs. 30 seconds. And is ranked 39th in average capital outlay per student. We're asking for a governor-appointed task force to examine capital investments in the 21st century learning and recommend to the OEIB structure programs and funding tools that will allow Oregon education organizations to respond to the forthcoming design changes. We also ask for the state to implement a pre-K through 20 facility information database hub for safety, health, and energy savings. We have no database that includes all of the facilities in Oregon. And finally, we propose that the state join the center in providing regional technical assistance to public education organizations by matching the center's investment and thereby doubling the assistance currently being provided in health, safety, energy, savings, and public and private partnerships. There's more. I know you have it printed out, probably in your packet of things, but thank you very much for your time.
James Fritz. Michelle Newsom, Ethan Garrison, and James Martin, please.
My name is James Fritz. I'm Associate Professor of Art at Southwestern. I am the core team leader for Achieving the Dream at Southwestern, a national initiative to improve student success and graduation rates at community colleges. We are participating with 7 other colleges in a consortium of Oregon community colleges working with Achieving the Dream. I'd like to just touch on 2 things tonight. One thing is we need to fix the transferability of courses in the state. Community college students are still unable to transfer coursework seamlessly into bachelor degree programs. Students assume that community colleges are the same everywhere and that they can transfer credits within a functional and fair system of higher education. But when they transfer to a university, they discover a dysfunctional system. Courses are only accepted as electives, not as satisfying the university lower division requirements. Students are infuriated that they are back to freshman status and retaking courses at their new school. It used to be just an academic turf war between community colleges and universities, but now the transfer student to the university is treated both as a less worthy scholar and as a shiny new revenue stream. The second thing I'd like to touch on tonight is that we need to fix developmental education at community colleges. 70% of our students test into developmental education. These students enroll without the college level skills in reading, writing, and math to succeed in college. Of these students, almost none graduate with a degree or certificate. We need to create a new mechanism for funding and delivery of developmental education so that students are not spending dollars meant for college tuition on courses that do not satisfy college requirements. They spend as much as $10,000 of their tuition waivers, Pell Grants, student loans, and their savings on developmental courses before they ever take their first college transfer course. After 1 or 2 years working at building their college level skills, many are too debt-ridden and demoralized to continue in higher education. If you want to fix community colleges and increase graduation rates, you have to fix developmental education. Thank you.
My name is Ethan Garrison. I'm the student body president here at Southwestern for the year. I advocate and represent students here at Southwestern, and one of the biggest concerns that I currently hear about and see every day is increase in tuition and fees. Since I came to SWAC a couple years ago, I've noticed a raise both years, and not just speaking personally, but from what I hear from other students, every time there's a raise, it's harder to afford books, harder to afford staying in school, and it's proven every time a tuition and fees are raised that students drop out. And if there is a decrease in student enrollment, how can we reach the 40-40-20? So this is a big concern of mine right now, and being a part of student government, I hear about and we discuss it. Talking to students, people I see in class, community college I think is a great opportunity if it's going to be a first step out into getting an education, college education, going on to university, or if you're just trying to, for example, learn something for like nursing, you could just take a nursing class and may not necessarily graduate, but the community college offers that opportunity that students cannot necessarily just go and get at a university. So community colleges having tuition increases and fees, making every time that there is a tuition increase, it's harder for students to stay in college, harder to afford living expenses and all that. So what I'm concerned about primarily is the raising of tuition every year, and if something maybe can be done so that students will not have to pay for so much, and that we can have less increase for community colleges specifically. Thank you.
First, I would like to apologize. This will take about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I cut it down as much as I could. My name is Michelle Newsom, and I've taught joyfully in Coos County for 27 years. And I normally avoid public speaking, but if I remained quiet while corporate executives and bureaucrats took over our schools, I couldn't live with myself. I'd like to make a case for eliminating high-stakes tests and using the savings to decrease class size. My nephews attend public school here. They've had incredible teachers like Ms. Stockert, Ms. Hoy, Ms. Lakovic, sorry, Mary, and Mrs. Marino, who provided them with an individualized, engaging curriculum focused on their strengths, interests, and needs, but many children aren't so lucky. With the test and punish policies of NCLB and Race to the Trough, many frightened schools have turned classrooms into test prep centers where children experience days full of scripted curriculum, including packets of mind-numbing worksheets and endless practice tests to prepare for the real tests. Under NCLB, we've spent billions of dollars on testing, and under Race to the Trough, we will spend billions more. The National Academy of Sciences states there is no research base to support high-stakes testing, yet reformers continue to push excessive and expensive testing to line publishers' pockets and punish troubled communities. Instead of repealing or speaking out against excessive high-stakes testing, Oregon is now expanding the test to include kindergarten. Companies are lined up to sell us their snake oil, expensive and damaging assessments and curriculum. We still need some tests. The most useful and accurate are those assessments and portfolios created and kept by teachers to inform instruction and track growth over time. Dr. Krashen of USC suggests we also improve and keep the NAEP. The money saved from unbounded testing and carrot and stick reforms could then be used for real solutions, such as reducing class size. CoosBay has huge class sizes. At my school, we have 30 in our first grades. It's unconscionable, but sadly, it's not unusual anymore. And if by chance one agrees with the Gates, Waltons, Rhodes, and other corporate reformers who claim class size doesn't matter, I would counter that common sense, experience, and research say differently. According to the Institute of Educational Sciences, which is the research arm of the DOE, small class size is one of only 4 K-12 reforms backed by rigorous evidence.
2 minutes, 30 seconds.
At schools like Andover, Sidwell Friends, and Exeter, where policymakers can be certain their children will not fall victim to the policies they enact, children attend regular education classes of less than 15 students. And I guess the deformers mean class size doesn't matter for the rest of us. We could fund our priorities by cutting bureaucracy and prying greedy corporate hands from the necks of our schools.
Good evening, I'm James Martin. I'm the chair of the CoosBay School Board, but I'm here speaking in my personal capacity. It's not any sort of official statement. I'm also the father of 3 elementary-age kids in our schools. And I don't want to talk about any specific priority list or particular initiative or objective. I want to talk about 3 principles that I hope will underlie every decision you make going forward and whatever list you ultimately come up with. And the first of those is stability. And these really go to the overall and overarching way we fund education in this state. Every time any educational entity in this state gets a new ride on the budget roller coaster, a big dip up, a big dip down, and this happens, it seems, at least every 2 years, and sometimes more, depending on what the economy is doing, then we have an internal battle about how we're going to deal with that change. And it pits people within the system, within each entity, against one another, which programs are going to get cut, which groups are going to get what, where's the axe going to fall. It pits employee groups against one another, it pits administrators against teachers, against classified, against school board, and every single minute we spend debating those things internally against one another is a moment lost from teaching our children and improving our instruction. So I would happily take stable funding, even at a lower level, over what we deal with now. And I hope you will ask yourself, with whatever you recommend, is this going to further the cause of stability of funding in Oregon? The second principle is, I can't decide whether to call it unity or equity. It's a similar idea on a macro scale. We have to worry in this state about whether the decisions, how the decisions we make are going to impact our neighboring districts, our higher education institutions. We just heard a reference to turf wars. We have to deal with private for-profit institutions going after the same pool of dollars. We heard a statement from our local ESD. We have to worry in CoosBay about our decisions about ESD services, and is our decision going to have a negative impact on Powers or Myrtle Point? That's wrong. We need a system where everybody involved in public education in Oregon, P through 20, is pulling together in the same direction, not pitted against other parts of the system. The third prong, I think, is adequacy, and I know you've heard plenty about that. I think everyone in this room probably is on the same board. You know, I know there are some school districts that when they turned in their achievement compacts to the governor, had the audacity to say, we think our student achievement in the next couple of years is going to go down because our resources have gone down so much. Now, I don't agree with that. In CoosBay, we'll take any level of resources and we're going to do our job. We're going to do our best to hold every student to the highest standards, our staff, our faculty, our administrators, to get the job done. And we'll do it with whatever comes down from the state. But until those 3 principles are in place statewide, then any program, any reform, any initiative that you want to lay on top of that system is window dressing on a rotten foundation. So I hope that those 3 principles will underlie whatever comes out of this process. And I do want to thank you for coming down to the South Coast.
Bob Bell, Jessica Skinner, Kathy Cooley, and Richard Lowe, please.
I'm Bob Bell, and I'm from Umpqua Community College. I'm on the local board there. When we think about community colleges, and obviously I'm here to promote community colleges tonight, we think of community colleges being lower tuition. And that's important today because wage earners have been, their incomes have been stagnated. Basically, families have less money to invest in college. So yes, community college is cheaper. Also, we think about training. We think about workforce training. Community colleges are the magic bullet in order to save our economy. And there is a lot of professional technical training, and it is saving our economy, I think, as well. However, if we look at that picture and we leave out, and we just say that those two roles are it for the community college, and often that's what we hear. I would say there's a third role, and maybe this is most important and fits best into your 40-40-20. The community college is providing for the local high school districts a ramp. I like to think of it as a ramp, a ramp rather than a bridge being straight across, but a ramp which allows the student to slowly progress to a college level. While they're in high school, they can take courses that are college level, which gives them actually experience in taking college level courses. They also can go to the community college with some credits already accumulated. And I would say this is one of the most important things that all of our local community colleges provide. We have 17 of them all over the state, providing access to education locally. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Skinner. I'm a counselor at Rochelle High School. Our free and reduced lunch in 2009 was 40.21%. In 2010, it rose to 50.3%. 2011, 68%. In 2012, we're down to 52%. In 2012, 22% of our students that walked in our graduation ceremony had completed online credit recovery. Without counselors who track graduation status, assist students in enrolling in credit recovery and monitor and encourage student progress, very few of these kids would have made it to graduation. Our intermediate level counselor works between two schools with a caseload of 1,000 students. Much of her work is reactive instead of the ideal of being proactive because she has such little time and a vast caseload. MHS has 3 counselors with 1,050 8th to 12th grade students. Harding Learning Center has an 8-hour per week counselor serving about 180 students. We struggle every day with prioritizing time due to having large caseloads and being able to serve all student needs, including social, emotional, academic, and career. We deal with suicidal ideation, self-harm, abuse, neglect, and depression issues on a regular basis. The government needs to make it a priority to address the needs of students, especially those of low socioeconomic status students, in order to make something like 40-40-20 a realistic outcome. If students' basic needs are not being met and school counselors are focusing a large part of their time assisting students in meeting their basic needs and just passing classes, how can we help ensure all students are getting the academic preparation and guidance necessary to initiate a plan like 40-40-20?
30 seconds.
Attendance grew over 2% from 2 years ago after we implemented a plan for having at least 86% graduate attendance for being able to walk in our graduation ceremony. In 2009, 1,080 students earned credit, or 1,080 student college credits were earned. In 2010, 1,370, and in 2011, 1,495 credits were earned, college credits. High school counselors assist with PSAT, SAT, ACT, and college placement exams, set up career presentations, college visits, scholarship and financial aid sessions, Aspire, and CIS, all of which align with the Oregon and national standards of our comprehensive guidance and school counseling programs. Yet where is the mention of school counselors in this initiative? Stability is, I also believe, is the key. State budgets are restricting schools more and more, and without funds, how are counselors and educators going to be able to support these plans?
Good evening, I'm Kathy Kool-Aid. I'm a public health nurse who has been providing parents as teachers and Healthy Start services for 12 years in Coos County. I've seen the positive impacts on our children that can occur when parents receive developmental education, skills coaching, and other related supportive services. And I'd like to encourage you to prioritize early learning. Research tells us that the first 3 years, including the prenatal period, are critical to the way that a child's brain gets wired. We know that these years are a period when massive neural development is occurring. We know that both good and bad experiences during these early years of life wires a child's brain to adapt and survive in his or her environment. Parents who are attentive and attuned caregivers provide experiences that help a child's brain develop well, whereas parents who are preoccupied with surviving have little time or energy to provide the stimulating experiences that foster optimal brain development in their children. The importance of intervening early with families of disadvantaged children cannot be overemphasized. ACEs, or the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, gives weight to the importance of tending to the needs of our most vulnerable citizens, our infants and children. The public health impact of ACEs cannot be ignored as a matter of conscious choice. The chronic health disaster of ACEs and their effects on a child's developing brain are real. The cost of trying to repair and remediate these children is far greater than the cost of preventing these problems from occurring in the first place. Evidence-based home visiting programs such as Parents as Teachers, Healthy Families America, and Early Head Start prevent these problems. They provide a high return on our investment. The success of the whole educational system can hinge on a child's first 3 years of life. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richard Lowe. I am a brand new faculty member here on campus. I teach computer science, which is computation, algorithms, all sorts of nice stuff. And because it is kind of a technical field, I'm very acutely aware of the shortcomings that some students have when it comes to areas of mathematics and science. And I didn't know what to expect. I've never been to a meeting like this before, and I don't have any advice for you because I think you have a hard enough job as it is. But I can tell you some of my experience, brief experience as being an educator. I'm coming from the private sector. I'm also moving here from Austria and in Europe, and so I have a little bit different perspective. I'm trying to give my students an industry level experience. Trying to give my students this experience that can take them from the community college out into the workforce. And what I'm coming up with is we spend a tremendous amount of time kind of working around budgeting barriers, such as when I want to give my students an experience working at an industrial level, working with particular tools, we don't have those tools. We have to work with theoretical, we have to work through textbooks, we have to work through things that are somewhat mundane for a lot of these students. And my challenge, and I do a pretty decent job at it, is getting them really excited about technology, getting them interested in what industry is doing in itself. But I'm finding that we try to make hands-on interactive experiences, and again, we come up with a budget problem. And we end up making sacrifices. We have them play with toys, and it really doesn't give them that full experience. And I'm kind of feeling kind of selfish at this point, even talking about investment in labs and things like that, because I know you have so many challenges. So that is my experience, and I know you have a hard job. Do with it as you will. Thank you very much.
Jen Marie Frangopoulos, Ann Maranu, Vicki Rummett, and Susan Anderson. Sorry, wait. Just your name. Frangopoulos.
Thank you for taking public comments and thank you for being here. I'm a Viking, but one from Wyoming and a local educator, and I'm here on really just behalf of my own story. My high school in the state of Wyoming was one of the first schools to institute the outcome-based education. So I have seen some, for me at that time I was a junior in high school, and it provided some neat opportunities for me to excel in areas that I struggled in, to be able to look at things in a different way and to get the support I needed by the assessments that my teachers had given me. However, I was tracked not for college. I still to this day don't exactly know why. I don't follow that. And from what I understand, this is really a bigger tracking device as we are seeing here in Coos County with the 8th grade state test being so high. Now I'm hearing stories already that was instituted last year, I believe, with the 8th grade test, and they are tracked for a lesser high school degree here in our county. And that really concerns me. I was one of those children, and I'm the first college graduate, and happy to say also a master's graduate from my family. I'm very excited about that, and to become an educator and enjoy sorry, I'm a little nervous, to join this world of educators in our great nation and our free public education system here. But I've been in the education system now for 10 years teaching on and off, and 5 years full-time, and seen it in substituting, and seen it in rural Oregon as well as in Portland proper. And I'm amazed at the difference in funding for schools by property tax. And like the Clackamas High School is beautiful, gold built, LEED built school. But because of the funding following now the money for testing, none of our schools are getting the basic upkeep that they need for their physical structures, as we see that here in Coos County badly, where the funding is just not there to provide those for our schools. So we are mandated for the money to go towards making teachers better test givers. And I think it's just really hard. So I'm just asking to really think outside the box, and when you're at the table, realize that there are so many people that don't have a voice there. Yasas, tikanis, to fageto. How was that for you? Was that hard to understand? That's Greek. I now speak some Greek because I married a Greek. That's Metropolis, rhymes with Miss Frangopoulos. So can you imagine with your ELL mandate how that might feel with these families that are English proficient and professionals English proficient coming into their homes and teaching and talking to them, and not providing a teacher that speaks their language, when in some of our communities in Coos County and in the nation, as well as Oregon, where they could use a Russian teacher, a dual language speaker. And with the high stakes test, all of that has been left out, as we know with the No Child Left Behind Act, the Bilingual Education Act was replaced with the ELL Act. So I would ask you to take a double look at that ELL standard and rethink that a little bit to provide, if you want to meet the needs of those low socioeconomic families, which many are ELL, to really think about talking their language as well. Thank you.
Hi, I was born in Macaulay Hospital. My name's Ann Marino, and I've taught in CoosBay for over 20 years, and I have 3 kids who have gone through the CoosBay school system. I'm also active on the Oregon Reading Association's executive board, where I have the opportunity to listen to educators all across the state, and there's a common theme on a lot of things that have been said in the last couple of years. One of them is policymakers who often aren't educators, and they're making policies that are affecting me in my classroom. And when you brought up the reading initiative, I'm going, what? And that scares me. And I'm gonna skip my bullets down to a lack of trust in educators. I feel that over the last 20 years, there isn't any trust. I don't trust you. And I feel that you don't trust me. And because you're here, I'm glad that you're here, because that shows me that you're at least listening to us. And we'll see where that goes. But, and I hear a lot of, conversation about the testing, mandated over-testing, testing all year, and when we could be doing other things that would be more appropriate for the kids. Lack of arts, music, arts. Sometimes we do crafts because there's just no time, especially in a 4-day week in our district. Directed professional development, we hear more from the State Department telling us how we're supposed to be professionally developed. In Oregon, you have to have a master's in education. Do you not trust us to figure out what professional development I need to develop myself as an educator? I don't know. And I'd like to add that I just want to make sure increase support to libraries was another one, and to modernize the schools.
My name is Vicki Brummett. I have worked for Southwestern Oregon Community College for 24 years. And I have watched over the years our college struggle over and over again with funding issues. And every time there's another hoop, we jump through that hoop, and a lot of time and resources is spent jumping through that hoop, figuring out budgets again over and over again. It's a waste of resources. If we didn't have to do this, we could improve what we already have. And the group that takes the biggest hit in this is the student. And every time our funding is decreased, their tuition increases. I came to this college 26 years ago as a single mom on public assistance. And my goal was not a degree. It was not my primary goal, I should say. My primary goal was to attain job skills, to become employed. I'm a completer. I did that. And if I had not done that, it would have cost the state more money in the long run. And I think we need to look at that. I think we need to look at how to get education and make it affordable. And the state of Oregon has failed that, because we wouldn't be sitting in this room today if we succeeded.